Charter school enrollment continues to grow in Nevada, but academic outcomes are mixed. How can our state best support charter school growth and effectiveness? That's the question, and that's what we'll be discussing next on Nevada Week.
Support for Nevada Week is provided by Senator William H. Hernstat, Cashman Equipment, DeCastro Verde Law Group, Valley Electric Association, and additional supporting sponsors.
Welcome to Nevada Week. I'm Kip Ortenberger, and thank you for joining us today. Nevada Week is a show that Vegas PBS has created for us to help inform and connect us to the issues that are critical to Nevada's future. Now, today, the discussion we have is a critical topic, and that is charter schools. Many of our state's families are opting to have more educational choice, and they are increasingly choosing charter schools. Now, for example, in the last decade, charter school enrollment has grown from a few thousand to now representing almost 10% of our state's K-12 student body. Now, on the show, we want to get a better understanding first of what charter schools are, how are they performing, and then finally, what strategies may best support their growth. Joining us today, we have a great panel. Jana Wilcox-Lavin, Executive Director of Opportunity 180. Jason Gunasso, Board Chair for the State Public Charter School Authority. Kenny Retzel, Director of Educational Policy at the Gwynn Center. And Rebecca Feiden, Director of the Achievement School District. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here. We really appreciate it. We're going to have a great discussion. And I want to start off with a simple question. Why charter school? And Rebecca, I'd like to start with you. And we're talking about parent and student perspective. Why is charter school a good educational choice?
Well, when I have conversations with parents, many times the first question on their mind isn't, is it a charter school or is it a district school? It's, what's the right school for my child? What's the right fit? What school is going to provide the opportunity for my child to reach their full potential? Charter schools certainly play a role in that, as do district schools. And charter schools often provide alternatives or options that may be different from the local district schools that are available in a parent's community.
And when you say options, what kind of options does a charter school offer that maybe a traditional school wouldn't?
You know, it can be a really wide range. You see some charter schools maybe that offer a program that's a Montessori program. That might be an alternative. In other states and communities, I've seen charter schools that have a bilingual focus or a focus on a certain language immersion program. So really it can be pretty broad and offer a variety of choices for parents and for kids.
Jenna, educational perspective, why teach at a charter school?
Yeah, you know, I think similar to what Rebecca said, teachers want as many options as kids do. Not every educator is the same. Not every teacher wants the exact same teaching environment. And so the charter school landscape, the public charter schools offer an alternative for teachers who are looking for different types of style of classroom, but also want to stay in the public school environment.
And Jason, let's talk about just the concerned public citizen. It's very interested in where our education system is on a state level. How do charter schools contribute or fit into our education system?
Well, I would say that I like the idea that you talked about as contributing or adding, because I think that's exactly what we're doing as public charter schools. We are a part of a strategic plan in our state to improve education. And we're a very important part of that. And we're not here to supplant the traditional public school system as much as we are here to complement the traditional system. And we do things a little bit differently. I mean, we allow for autonomy, because that's because we trust educators to deliver education. We allow for innovation because we realize that one size doesn't fit all for all students. We allow for, but we also, with accountability, or with autonomy and with innovation, we require accountability. We expect results, and in doing that, we want to make sure that we're serving all students and providing high quality options to all students, and we want to make sure we're being efficient. That is, we're entrusted with public dollars. And so we want to make sure that we are delivering results and high quality education for the students that we serve.
And I want to really quickly just address, the autonomy that a charter school has. So compared to traditional schools, what kind of autonomy do you have in a charter school, even though it's public education funded? What are some of the differences that you have?
Yeah, so I could probably spend about 15 minutes kind of laying out all this, but I'll keep it really simple. And just from an authority perspective, I sit on a state public charter school authority. What we're concerned about are results. And so we enter into a contract with the charter school, and we say, in that contract, we expect certain results relative to performance. And then we give that contract to the charter school. We allow them to exercise their autonomy to find innovative ways to deliver education. And that's the real kind of difference in how we approach education, is we allow educators to develop a vision, develop a plan, and then implement that plan that's appropriate for the model that they've chosen. And all we care about at the state level is, did they produce the results given what they said they were going to do? And that allows for a lot of freedom, and it also allows us to eliminate a lot of administrative costs. We serve 42,000 students in our portfolio with 16 staffers. That means we're pushing all the major decisions down regarding how to deliver education to the educators and school leaders.
And just a couple specifics too, maybe we can contribute to, when we're talking about specifics and autonomy, I mean, can the length of the school day expand? Are we talking about less classroom size, more classroom size? What are some of the specifics that we have in the classroom itself that are different from a regular traditional school?
Yeah, I'll jump in really quickly. And I think, it's about programmatic autonomy. So yes, I think the answer to all of those questions. So while public charter schools still are required to be evaluated in the same way that a traditional public school would, a lot of the decisions they make on a day-to-day basis, how long are kids in school, what kinds of transportation options are we going to offer, what does our curriculum look like, are we going to have a standard curriculum, what types of assessments would we use during the school year, are all up to the individual board. And that board continues to operate similar to a school district board. They run public meetings and they make those decisions. They pass their budget publicly. And so there's lots of opportunity for parent engagement, teacher engagement, student engagement in a lot of instances. But they're really making the decisions about what does our day and our school year look like in order to meet the results we have committed to for our kids, and then deliver on that on a daily basis.
Kenny, I want to come to you. Let's talk a little bit about the different types of charter schools we have. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so I guess there's many different ways that you could classify a charter school, right? And so you guys can help me. The biggest one, the one that we use most often, is by the authorizer, which just basically means who that school is accountable to, right? So Jason is overseeing the state public charter schools. Rebecca is overseeing those in the Achievement School District. It's still a part of the state, but just a different avenue, I guess. And then there's charter schools that are overseen by districts. You could also, though, classify a charter school based on the mode of instruction, if you wanted to say, right? Which by that I just mean if you drive up to some charter schools, they're going to look exactly like your neighborhood traditional public school, right? It's going to be brick and mortar. You're going to see teachers and classrooms. But there's other charter schools that are completely virtual, where the student logs in and sees their teacher on a computer, right? And then I guess the last classification that if you really wanted to say for charter schools is that sort of specialty of instruction, that there are some charter schools that focus specifically on topic areas. The child will get a full education, but they might focus a little bit more on science and math. There's a charter school up north that's doing great things in construction, right? But there's also charter schools that are doing a very similar thing to what traditional public schools are. And I think however you classify them, they're a great opportunity for parents, or a great choice for parents, just like a traditional public school could be a great choice.
And Kenny, I want to come back to you really quick to talk about the differences in funding. Now, the Gwynn Center has spent a lot of time analyzing funding, especially public education funding and per pupil formulas that we have. What is the difference between charter school funding at the public education funding versus a traditional school?
So the big difference, I guess, is that a charter school, no matter who is the authorizer, doesn't have that taxing authority that a school district might have with access to property taxes. But So the charter school funding, as simply as I can put it, is that the state goes ahead and says, hey, every school district, here is a per pupil amount for your students, right? The statewide average is about $5,900 for this school year, right? But every school district has a different per pupil amount. So Clark County's is a little bit lower. If you're in a rural area, it's probably going to be a little bit higher. Right, so the way that fits into the charter landscape, though, is that how the charter school gets their money is dependent on where that student, their home district would be. So if you've got a charter school that's located within Clark County and that student is in Clark County, it's really simple. They just get the per pupil amount that the Clark County School District would have received. It starts getting a little dicey in the sense of if you've got a virtual school, for say, where let's say that school is in White Pine County. This is hypothetical, completely hypothetical, but if it's in White Pine County, but you've got school students from all over the state, each student is going to bring their home district's per pupil amount. And so you couldn't, it would just be a little bit more difficult to calculate that per pupil.
One thing I would add to that really quickly too is the way charter school funding works is that the sponsors take a small fee, so up to 2%, but that's not a required maximum. And so the money, more money goes directly to the student than we are seeing consistently across the state right now from districts covering central office costs and that money flowing all the way down to the campus. So in the charter school environment, there's a lot of money flowing directly to schools. And in some districts around the country where you see a significant number of charter schools, you're seeing more money getting pushing out directly to schools and less money being held centrally to cover central services.
And I want to clarify: sponsor is that
Oh, sure.
is that the managing organization or is that the authorizer?
That's the authorizer, yeah. So as Kenny talked about, one of the differences in charter schools is to whom they're held accountable, and so the sponsor is the accountable entity. So the State Public Charter School Authority, the Achievement School District, or a local district that had sponsored a school.
It would be probably remiss to not mention, though, that with regard to how charters are funded, what isn't included in charter funding is facilities funding for transportation, and other things that traditional schools would get funding from as a part of the state allocation. So,
I want to move to performance and accountability a little bit more. The Gwynn Center, Kenneth, had issued a report, a policy brief recently that really focused on district-sponsored charter schools, but yet the data in that report was inclusive to all of charter schools. How are charter schools faring when we're looking at performance?
Yeah, so I guess that's where I would go back to that kind of designations between charters that when you look at the state-sponsored charter schools, and what I guess to be clear, when I'm saying state-sponsored, I include Jason and Rebecca in the same group. The state-sponsored charter schools are doing great. They're outperforming their peers in the traditional public school space, so they've got higher proficiency rates, higher star ratings for the state accountability system. Then there's the traditional public schools. They're that's sort of the benchmark that everyone compares themselves against. And then the district charter schools aren't doing as well, but we also found that demographically they might look a little bit different than the state charter schools students, as well as the traditional public schools. But I think that it's important to note in all of that conversation that while the state Public Charter Authority and the Achievement School District have 4- and 5-star schools, they also have 1- and 2-star schools, right? I don't mean to belittle anything, but the same thing with traditional public schools, right? There's 4- and 5-star schools there, and there's 1- and 2-star schools there. So I think there's work to be done all across the board.
Well, so that's a question. So why the mixed results? Why are we seeing that we have Achievement School District schools that have such variation in star ratings? And let's clarify what a star rating is, right? The entire state public school system is rating each school on a 5-star system, 5 being the greatest, 1 being the least, correct?
Yep.
Why are we seeing such variation?
Frankly, I think it's because of the same reasons we see variation in the traditional school system. Some of the core things we know that help kids to be successful are rigorous instruction, access to supports and resources, and we see that same variation across our entire state. I think one of the differences that we've already talked about is that charter schools have to prove that they're serving kids well for them to continue to operate. And so as an authorizer, it's a critical part of our job to make sure to hold schools accountable to those results. And if they're not they're not successful, then it's our responsibility to take actions, the most extreme of which can be school closure, to ensure that the schools that are under our authority are successfully serving kids.
Now, I know one of the big criticisms of charter schools is that because individual schools have so much autonomy, sometimes it's hard for the authorizers to be able to provide that type of oversight and at times even close down schools. How are we doing as a state, especially at the state level?
You know, I've been on the board for 2 years now, and one of the things I think I'm most proud of is that we have a system of accountability that works. It starts with the process. When a school doesn't meet our standards, we give them a notice of concern. It's followed by then a notice that their contract's been breached. And then we look at potential termination or reconstituting the board and receivership consequences. And within that, just in the last 6 years, we've closed a school, Silver State, a charter school, with Quest Charter School, which was a one-star school. We used the receiver to turn around the results. So now that same school that was a one-star school a year and a half ago is now a three-star school. With Discovery Charter School, same thing. We appointed a receiver. We turned a one-star school into a three-star school. And then with Beacon Academy, that was primarily serving at-risk youth, we recognized that that was their mission and vision, and that the standards that would be applied to a more traditional population weren't appropriate under our statute. We moved that school into the alternative performance framework so they could focus on at-risk kids and do a good job, be kind of the school of last resort for them. And so in addition to that, we've put our virtual schools on performance contracts. Nevada Connections Academy is currently on a performance contract, and then Nevada Virtual Academy is on a performance contract that resulted in their elementary school being closed just this last year. So we are making great strides, and the result on the other end is that half of our schools in our portfolio are 4 or 5-star schools, and we've only got roughly 24% of our schools that are 1 or 2-star schools, and that number is continuing to shrink as we continue to work hard at this accountability work. So yes, it's hard work, but it's important work, and it takes time and thoughtfulness and a little bit of innovation, because accountability isn't one-size-fits-all accountability. You understand the context and you try to apply the appropriate remedy to get the result that you want.
I would, if you don't mind, if I'd also add, I think Clark County School District also took some steps this year to identify and respond to some of their charter schools that they had sponsored who required intervention, and are moving forward with, I believe, a recommendation of a receivership option for those schools. So I think we're seeing sponsors across the county and the state really take that authority and use it in the best interest of kids.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about needs. We have the 88th legislation is just weeks away now. When we're looking at, we've already talked a little bit about funding, but let's go back to funding if we could. Rebecca, public education funding, it looks like there's going to be a lot of discussion around the formula changing, and we might be getting more per pupil funding. What are the gaps in charter schools that funding potentially could fill, or how do you foresee that money being used to improve the charter school system?
Sure. So I think charter schools face a lot of the same funding challenges that district schools do. In many cases, I hear from school leaders that they want the opportunity to add additional professionals to their building, whether those are additional teachers to provide supports to kids who might be coming in behind, or whether it's to add social workers and mental health supports to kids to ensure that those kids, in addition to getting great academic support, are also getting a really holistic support from the school to ensure that they're on a trajectory to be college and career ready.
And beyond it, unless anybody else has anything to say about education, we could just hit upon really quick. You mentioned that facilities is not something that is covered by charter schools. I mean, when we're looking down the road, and maybe in comparison to other states, are there other states that in their charter school system, they're funding those types of things? And is that something you see in the future for Nevada?
We would hope so. I think the burden of proof is still on the charter sector to show that we are valuable contributors to the overall education portfolio to achieve the goal of being the fastest improving state as far as education goes in the nation. If we can continue to produce results, and we can produce results over every demographic category, then I think in a few years we can make the argument that we should be treated like every other public school and have some access, to funding for our facilities. Because, if we're serving the same students and we're doing that well and we're, good collaborators within the entire education system, then there's really no reason to distinguish our public delivery of education from other modes.
Go ahead.
It does build on what's happening nationally. So you are seeing, particularly in places like Washington, D.C., or where the portfolio of schools is more distributed between public charter schools and traditional public schools, you are seeing the same amount of facilities funding flow in both directions. And I think one of the other things related to facilities is recognizing that, and I think, Jason, you brought up this point earlier, that public charter schools have to be a little bit more efficient with their funds in order to be able to build or retrofit a building to work for their students. And so I think we've seen from the SAGE Commission and some other reports that were commissioned that public charter schools have done a really good job in the marketplace of keeping their costs down.
And in other states too, states that do have facilities funding, are these well-established charter school programs, so they do have a much larger track record and a lot more history and roots, so to speak, in their program?
Yeah, I think so. And I would say it's not necessarily the charter schools that have the longevity necessarily. It's that the market itself has moved in a direction where they're focused on public school choice for families and just not really focused on governance of a particular school, but focused on quality. And in markets like DC, for example, you see a significant number of school closures in charter schools and in traditional public schools because quality is the community-wide focus. And so what the community demands is that the schools that are open are the schools that are delivering at the best possible for students. And so once we can move in that direction as a state, I think we will see both, we will see opportunities for more money, as well as we will likely see changes in school closure opportunties.
Jason, you mentioned collaboration. I want to talk more about collaboration. Kenneth, the Gwynn Center report that we mentioned already, a lot of the recommendations at the end of that are focused more on collaboration, and prominent in a lot of those recommendations are who's sitting around this room right here to work more together. Yeah. Why is collaboration so important to improve our charter school system?
Yeah, so I think that's the great question, and that's the report that we had was focusing on district charter schools, but I think that collaboration piece actually flows to everyone, right? I mean, you just said it, Janet, education is a community job, right? And so whereas we think that district-sponsored charters could benefit from collaboration, I think traditional public schools could benefit from collaboration as well. And I think that as soon as the community starts seeing education as a community issue, then we'll start seeing those gains.
Yeah, a lot of times the conversation has been built on a vocabulary of competition, that those of us who are participating in the education space are competing with one another. And I think that is counterproductive. We all have the same goal. That is, we want to provide the best possible education we can to our students. And not one size all, there's not one size fits all school for every student. And so recognizing what the traditional system does well, what the charter sector does well, what the private sector does well, and learning from one another in this space and rooting for each other to be successful rather than poking at each other in our various deficiencies, I think would be a more productive way to get to the results we all want. Because we're a state where we've been, on any measure, the 50th in the nation in terms of education delivery. So we don't have a lot to brag about in that regard. So I think it's more productive with the scarce resources that we have to look at our partners in education, whether it's traditional schools, whether it's private schools, whether it's the charter sector, the public charter sector, and work together to see what's working and implement what's working, and the things that aren't working, get rid of that, and hold each other accountable so that we're achieving results for our kids.
And beyond just you around the table talking about that, I mean, policy-wise, legislatively-wise, is there anything we can do, anything the state can do to kind of help bind collaboration a little bit more?
I think it starts with the leaders. I think it starts with those of us at this table and other people that are leaders in education, recognizing that we need each other. You can't legislate leadership. You can't legislate cooperation. I think that what the legislature can do is set a tone that we're all in this together, and they can treat us all equally, so that we're not, concerned that if one sector gets some benefit that the other sector is not going to get the same benefit. But once we recognize we're all being treated the same, then just understanding that we have a lot to offer one another in the process of delivering quality education to kids. And so I think it really just starts with leadership and looking ourselves in the mirror and saying, is a competitive model the one that's going to best serve the kids, or is a collaborative model going to best serve our kids? And I think in our context, a collaborative model will.
So in collaborative model, obviously what you're saying is it lifts all boats, right? So we'll get more on an equitable ground for everybody.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. We're out of time, unfortunately. We could have had, I think, another half an hour, and maybe we will. I think we're going to have many more episodes on charter schools. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for joining us on this episode of Nevada Week. For resources discussed on this show, or for more information, we encourage you to visit our website at vegaspbs.org/Nevada Week. Some of the resources we talked about on the show and more resources we didn't get the chance to talk about will be on our website, so please check that out. Also, if you have a topic or issue you'd like us to explore on Nevada Week, we'd love to hear from you. So find us on social media or email us at nevadaweek@vegaspbs.org. Thank you again for joining us, and I will see you on the next Nevada Week.